welcome to the program. Now, being president of Nigeria has never been an easy job in a vast country riven by divisions, political, ethnic and religious. And yet, as President Tinubu takes over the role today, he must be keenly aware that he has a more challenging inbox than most of his predecessors.
You're right, Charles.
Well, he will have to deal straight away with an economy in crisis and a country mired in insecurity where long-running divisions are increasingly marked by violence. Meanwhile, the two men he defeated in elections insist he cheated, while others have accused Mr. Tinubu of corruption, a charge he strenuously denies.
And of course, you were there at that. I mean, you covered it. I was watching you on television, mesmerized as always by your
Thank you,
by your coverage. But I mean, what was the mood like in that place? Obviously, lots of his supporters there.
Indeed, ecstatic. Like I did say throughout my hits today, the weather played a role. You know, initially before the proper ceremony started, we had showers of rains in the nation's capital.
Yes,
it was dampened.
I detected it through my window, through the safety of my room.
Lucky you. Some of us had to be on the ground, Charles. It was calm, it was sober. And then, luckily for us, you know, again, setting the mood to say perhaps there's hope. And then we had the sunshine. And the atmosphere completely changed.
That lifted the mood.
It did lift the mood.
Right.
The Eagle Square was filled to capacity. Some would say the Eagle Square can sit 5,000 people. Some would say more. We had serious security on the ground, but I can tell you that ordinary Nigerians at some point still found their way beyond the barricade of the security people.
Right.
Yes, it was indeed ecstatic. It was some sort of carnival. Again, it was his supporters, party leaders, dignitaries from across the world who had come to see this historic moment in Nigeria.
A historic moment indeed. And let's take a listen to Nigeria's new president, Bola Tinubu, delivering a part of his inaugural speech earlier today.
Senior auditor and company treasurer. Our administration will govern you only on your behalf, but never rule over you. We shall consult and dialogue, but never dictate. We shall reach out to all, but never put down a single person for holding view contrary to our own. We are here to further mend and heal this nation, not tear and injure it. Principles that will guide our administration are very simple. Nigeria will be impartially governed according to the rule of law, Constitution. We shall defend the nation from terror and all form of criminality that threatens the peace and stability of our country. We shall remodel our economy to bring our growth and develop the GDP much better, achieve the GDP much better than we have today. I assure you. Do that through job creation, food security, and an end to extreme poverty. In our administration, women and youth will feature prominently. Our government will continue to take proactive steps, such as championing a credit culture, to discourage corruption while strengthening the effectiveness and efficiency of the various anti-corruption agencies. We shall remodel our economy to bring our growth and develop the GDP much better, achieve the GDP much better than we have today. I assure you. Do that through job creation, food security, and an end to extreme poverty. In our administration, women and youth will feature prominently on fuel subsidy. Unfortunately, the budget that I've glimpsed before I assumed office and what I've heard is that no provision is there for fuel subsidy.
And that's Nigeria's new president, Bola Tinubu, there delivering a part of his inaugural speech earlier today. Well, let's bring in a Rise political editor, Sumner, Sambo, who was there at the inauguration. Good to see you, Sumner. Long day for you, no doubt, but thank you very much indeed for coming in. And let me just say that in a moment we'll have Hannatu Musawa, who is one of the spokespersons of the APC Presidential Campaign Council. But just give us a flavor of what you experienced there today. And it's a historic day.
Yeah, very historic, because we're having a party that was in opposition in 2015, enjoying 8 years of smooth, term, and then handing over to someone from the same party, even when a lot of analysts had not given this political party, the chance when it came into power in 2015. The assumption was that once Buhari was going to go in 2023, he would be going with the APC. But here we are with Bola Tinubu assuming power today. And so there's a transition between the All Progressives Congress to the All Progressives Congress. So there's no much different, and that's why you can see that the atmosphere is not so much full of excitement as it was. But right now we can say that the APC is a political vehicle that is promising to bring a lot for Nigerians. We've seen the CPC wing of the APC. It was an amalgamation of political parties that formed the APC in 2015. Now President Muhammadu Buhari, as he was then, was from the CPC wing of the APC, which was the former Congress for Progressive Change, which is now defunct. And Bola Tinubu is coming from the Action Congress of Nigeria, the ACN wing of the APC. Now, there has always been this debate within the APC itself, if indeed the true progressives in the APC are actually the CPC wing or the ACN. Now, the ACN wing have over time called themselves the progressives. When the PDP was in power, they had often termed the PDP to be conservatives, and that they were a line or a group of progressives that moved from the Alliance for Democracy, AD, to then Action Congress, and then Action Congress of Nigeria, to merging a little bit with Labour Party, and then before they came into the what we now have as the APC. And Tinubu had been the leader of these progressives, people who thought that the country should be run on a different platform, focusing more on economic liberalism. And Tinubu is someone who is open to the markets. He believes in a free market economy. He's someone who believes that Nigeria's potentials can actually be achieved better through market liberalism than what we had. But if you look at the sort of government that then President Buhari ran, he ran a socially centered kind of economy, where instead of allowing the free market economy to move, he centered more on socialism, providing welfare for a lot of people, building a welfare state. Now, the sort of government that we're going in is going to be different because Bola Tinubu is someone who actually opens his doors to those who can actually invest more in the Nigerian economy. Politically, this is someone who came into the Nigerian political scene in 1992. That was his debut as someone who was coming as an oil executive into the political terrain, and he emerged the senator for Lagos West then. And in 1992, because of the nature of that aborted Third Republic, he almost became president of the Senate. He entered into the political platform of then former Chief of General Staff, Shehu Musa Yar'Adua. And that political family was called the People's Front. It was a very formidable political front. And I can tell you that up till now, because of how powerful that political machinery was, most of the people that have been in government since 1992 have still been under it. Talk of people like in the outgoing government, you have people like Boss Mustafa, you have people like Tinubu himself, Iyorchia Ayu, and so many of them, Atiku Abubakar. All of them are from the same political family. And so,
although they've gone their separate ways.
Separate ways, but the ideologies that brought them into politics. Don't forget in 1992, when then head of state, military head of state, Ibrahim Babangida had outlawed the older politicians, there was a group of people that were called the new breed politicians who were brought into place to replace the old people like Adamu Chiroma and then Shehu Musa Yar'Adua and all of that. Now, these particular people, you're saying Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar, Iyorchia Ayu, and a whole lot of them, Boss Mustafa, these were the new breed politicians, and now they've been here for a long period of time. So what sort of presidency should we be expecting from Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
That's a good question.
It would be a sort of a left to the center kind of government.
So center-left.
Yes, center-left kind of government. People who are progressive in their ideology, who focus on free market economy, but who are not going to be too swift in taking certain reforms, because the conservatives within the Nigerian political system are still in large numbers, and that if they go too much into opening the economy, being liberalist and all of that, yes, there is a welfare consciousness. And that has to be driven.
Indeed. And the expectations are high, aren't they, from Nigerians for President Bola Tinubu? It is called Giant of Africa for a reason, demographic-wise and, of course, economy-wise. You asked the question just a moment ago, the sort of presidency we should be expecting. I think he made some profound statements today in his inaugural speech. What was the high point for you? I mean, I heard him say, we will govern on your behalf, but never over you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what really struck me most was when he said that he won't be dictatorial.
Yes.
And that he would love to hear from the people, because that's the major problem with our leadership. I mean, just yesterday I had a conversation with former President Goodluck Jonathan, and he said one of the major problems that we have is that listening ears. Most of our leaders just assume that they are high above there and they don't need to listen to people. And he almost had those issues when he almost had that mistake himself, when he removed fuel subsidy on the 1st of January 2012. And you know what happened? This same Bola Ahmed Tinubu led lots of protests here and there. And so the idea was that if maybe, you know, he could have been a listening person initially on that issue, there could have been a lot of consultation. And I think that could have also helped him in setting up the national conference to listen to people. And when he did, by setting up that national conference, you could see a confluence of ideas. Lots of people were interested in bringing ideas and sharing ideas on the sort of Nigeria that they want to build. When I listened to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu today, I mean, I felt that I think he had learned from the past. Most of the policies that were being pushed at us, the leaders have to listen. The government has to listen. And that's why he said that we are there on your behalf. And if you heard what his wife also said yesterday, there's almost nothing we don't have for ourselves. So we are going to ensure that we do our best for Nigeria, because we already have enough for ourselves, and we ensure that the country that we're going to live, if we live in after 4 years or 8 years, is going to be a country that a lot of Nigerians will be proud about.
Actually,
and I have no doubt that
yes.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu is someone, I mean, from his political liberalism that followed, is someone that has the capacity, although he has some challenges with his health and all of that.
Right.
But I'm thinking that if Nigerians give the new government some room away from the cynicism and the pessimism that we have while the issues are ongoing in court, because whether I like it or not, there's a government, and that government has to be in place and work for the people. Irrespective of whatever happens in court and comes out of court, the government has to run. So between now and until when the judgment is made, we must support the government in power to do what is necessary for the people. And so Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the president, and so we must support our government. We may not necessarily like the government, but we just have to love the country.
Right. Well, you mentioned his wife. I have to say I was hugely impressed with her speech yesterday.
I mean, she's been a senator.
I mean,
this is the first time that we're having a president as a senator.
Well, to be
his
honest,
wife's been a senator, and then the vice president is senator.
I have to say, at the risk of offending past first ladies, I mean, she came across as just absolutely, I mean, in control. I mean, brilliant to listen to, empathetic with the people of Nigeria. But you also mentioned, when you were talking earlier, Sumner, about fuel subsidy. That's obviously a hugely emotive issue in this country. Do you believe that scrapping fuel subsidy, as he said it was gone, basically, will be unpopular as it has been in the past?
Good. I mean, I was just having this conversation with someone before I came on air here. While I think it's a very good decision, and he did the same, he did this sort of action that we had thought that then President Muhammadu Buhari would do within his honeymoon period, the first 100 days in office in 2015, which he didn't, and which he got stuck in. It's a good decision, but I'm feeling that he should have waited until at about a month time before he takes this decision. Because while this is a very good decision, nonetheless, my fear is that because of the sort of cabals, people who control the fuel economy in Nigeria, if he doesn't have the fundamentals, the dynamics of what this is all about, they may create an artificial fuel scarcity for him in the first 100 days.
That's a good point.
And instead of people, you know, getting to receive his policies with warmth, he would have to be, you know, battling the labor leaders here and there and all of that. Did he do his research very well? I know he has, I think it's one of his family members, Wale Tinubu, who used to run Oando before, I mean, the Oando had issues. Nonetheless, this fuel subsidy issue is something that needs to be understood critically before such a decision will be undertaken. Because if these marketers, the fuel marketers, you know, gang up against his government within the next 3 months, Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be battling with how to control the narrative and how to, allow Nigerians to receive his policies from a good perspective, rather than, you know, it flowing naturally. Because these fuel marketers have held the nation to ransom. Don't forget, when Muhammadu Buhari campaigned in 2014, he said that fuel subsidy is a fraud. So the question is, at what point in time did Muhammadu Buhari then decide, while in government for 8 years, that fuel subsidy was no longer a fraud, to the extent that his government has spent more in terms of subsidy payments than other government? That's because when you get into government, the fundamentals are different. You see things that are laid before you. The security implication is there. The economic implication is there. The social implication is there. This is a very good decision, but he has to now work, since he has already said it, he has to now work very hard to ensure that he controls the narrative, to ensure that the fuel marketers don't sabotage the system, and then he must ensure that he doesn't run a command and control economy, because that is what then President Muhammadu Buhari tried to do, using the apparatus of state, the coercive apparatus of state, like the DSS, the police, to intimidate fuel marketers and all of that. If we are not, you know, refining a lot of fuel at the moment, then at what point in time is this removal of fuel subsidy going to hurt us or not hurt us? The Dangote refinery is going to come on stream in July. Does the new president have all the fundamentals on his table to actually take a good decision? Because taking a decision as a presidential candidate is different from taking a decision as president-elect, and then different from taking a decision as president in power. Because some of the things you said during campaign or as president-elect may be a different ball game when you come into power. So, Sumner? And all of this will be on his table from tomorrow. So we expect Bola Tinubu to first get a very good economic team, ensure that he listens to his advisors, and we can only wish him well, because this country belongs to all of us, and we must be patriotic towards our country, irrespective of the kind of government that we have.
I'm sure we'll have you back soon enough to talk about that cabinet, because that's going to be key, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there will soon be infighting between the government party. This happens every now and then.
I thought it already
Tinubu's men and those who were in Buhari's men who still want to be in the government. Yeah. And of course, those who campaigned. Because people must be, people have to be rewarded.
Yes.
I mean, that's what politics is all about.
Thank you, Sumner, our politics editor.